didn't understand the language being spoken verbally, but I understood it as I saw it, as he struggled, but also he reached up at Krishna. And he took Krishna into his heart, became the warrior, I believe, for Krishna. I don't know, that's what I saw. I don't know if it matters, but that's what I saw. I love it. I love the beauty of it. I love this man who gave himself to it so fully and so powerfully. I could watch that every night. And then the beautiful photography that showed so wonderfully that oneness that we all are. When I was a young man, I just want to share a couple of things. When I was a young man, I had a life-changing encounter with God. It turned my life upside down when I was 35. And not only did I immediately start reading the sacred writings and scriptures of Christianity, the Bible, I also started reading the Gita. I found it, and I read the autobiography of a yogi, and it touched me deeply because that autobiography sounded so much, it identified with Christ. I saw Jesus in him, and I saw him in Jesus. And I got in every yoga position I could. I wish at that time I had somehow become a disciple because of someone who could lead me more fully into that field. But at that time, I just have to tell you, I was so taken with it and so wanted to embrace what that autobiography was talking about, that I also got frightened. I thought if I go this way, I'll have to give up Jesus Christ, who I'd grown to love. And I was wrong, but that's what I thought at that time. And as the years have gone by, and many of them have gone by, I have come to see that they're both one. And that God is manifest in both. And I rejoice in that knowledge and that understanding. I saw God represented here this night so beautifully. And I see it in your faces as you greet one another, how beautiful and how loving it is. The Institute for Spirituality and Health is 55 years old in our community at the Texas Medical Center. It was first called the Institute for Religion. And some Methodist families, some Christian families, felt that this medical center that was fledgling at that time should have a spiritual influence. So they created an institute, they call it the Institute for Religion. They wanted to introduce religion into the medical center. And chaplains were trained there. Christian chaplains were trained in the Institute. And they also did bioethical studies to apply Christianity to bioethics. Later, the new medical school, Baylor Medical School in the Texas Medical Center took over the ethics department. And all the hospitals started training their own chaplains. So eventually, the Institute gave up its chaplain training program. And for a long time, kind of languished on, it had some wealth and money because of endowments, and it could function without having a mission. But a couple of years ago, they invited me, because I was retired, they invited me to come and serve as the president. And when I came there, I just felt like there's much more we can do. And so what I started doing, because I was both a physician and a priest, I could do this as a physician. I thought, every service in the hospitals, I don't know if y'all know that, but say medical service or the surgical service or pediatrics, all of them have what are called grand rounds. And what they do is they talk about their specialty every week or however often they meet. So I thought we ought to have a spirituality and health grand rounds. And I would bring speakers in who would talk about spirituality and how it brings about health. And in fact, today there are over 3,000 articles in the medical literature that show that if you are consistent and you have a genuine belief system in your heart, a faith system, a relationship with God, all kinds of things happen positive in your life. For instance, you have fewer hospitalizations, you have shorter hospital stays if you do go. You also stay in the intensive care unit fewer days. You, after you leave the hospital, you have less likely to return, mainly because they follow doctors' orders better. They seem to do that. And so we have, and not only that, studies have now conclusively shown that you live longer. If you have a spirituality in your life that's genuine, it's on the internal, it's inside of you, it's not external, you're not playing games, you're being, as we heard tonight, genuine. You're walking the walk. And if you do that, you live longer. In fact, it's 7 years longer on an average, 7 years longer by having that kind of relationship with Krishna, with God. And so I'm overjoyed to be in the place, and our mission is to share that knowledge. We call it increasing the awareness of the role that spirituality plays in healing. And we do it with 4 conferences. We have conferences, we have grand rounds in the hospitals now. We have lectures, we have talks. We do it every way we can with publications and other things. And we're going to bring in His Holiness the Swami here, who's coming here in April. We're going to try to set that up so he can speak within the context of Texas Medical Center. I want him to do that. I'd love for you to come and speak. I'd love for you to come back and speak at the Texas Medical Center. I would love to have Arjuna's dance. I think it's beautiful. I'd love to. I think it's spellbinding. It's powerful. It's touching us at our core, down deep, and truly we are. Not only body, but we're soul and spirit. And we're learning that we're one. When I was at Fuller Seminary in Pasadena, California, they taught us this. They said if you separate the people, you put them in geographical areas and they don't talk to each other, in 25 years they will develop their own culture. They will have modified the culture they started out together, but now they'll have a new set of artifacts, a new set of tools. They'll have language modified so the two groups probably won't understand each other too well. They will have new art. They will have new music. Their whole life, their worldview will change in 25 years. And they said that's because we're so incredibly creative. We're gifted. And as you heard, each one of us has unique gifts. And as we apply them, if we're separated from one another, we in fact will think we're different from one another. We'll forget that we are one. And the beautiful thing I think about healthy religion, healthy faith, healthy beliefs, healthy spirituality is we become one again. We bridge those barriers that have separated us. And geographically, we were separated, of course, by continents and didn't even know that the other existed. And then we came together and said, well, you don't believe what I believe. You believe different. We couldn't hear one another. We couldn't see the similarity. But I believe today we are beginning to see and hear and understand one another. And I believe it's because Krishna, because God has spoken to our hearts. And God is changing us. And I hope, indeed, that continues. I hope we do lay down our arms and fight no more. War will end. I hope we embrace God. And if we embrace God in our hearts, then we can be an influence in our community and touch the lives of others. And that's the role of the Institute, but I also believe it's the role of this temple, Hare Krishna Temple. And I salute all of you and thank you for the opportunity to be able to speak in this place. You've honored me. Hare Krishna.